I don't think I posted on my Instagram stories for 4.5 months. I have been so off all kind of forms of connection. I hope it explains to you as well a little bit why this podcast went quiet. But I remember reading this email and rather than looking at it and being like, oh, this is amazing, but instead, I was so angry. I was furious. I remember being so pissed off and annoyed and frustrated and in my ego and in my story. I've loved not doing it all this year. I have loved it. I have loved simplifying everything. I've loved just being.
The Mindspo podcast.
What do you see with your mind's eye?
Welcome back. Let's elevate. Roll your shoulders up and back. Unclench your jaw. Elongate your spine as you take a deep breath in. And now, exhale. Now take your mind to that person, place, or thing that you have gratitude for and start to feel into the joy available to you at all times. Elevate into a higher vibration as we expand together and dive into this conversation.
Welcome to the Mindspo podcast. My name's Rochelle Fox. I am your host, and if you could see me now, I have the biggest smile on my face because although I don't know if this is going to be the first episode I publish, this is the first episode I am recording back, and I am getting this electric energy racing through my body. I'm like a giddy schoolgirl. I feel like I'm back with, I want to say my crush. I feel like I'm on a date with my crush, and that maybe sounds a little bit weird, but I love this podcast so much. And I'm actually really going to dive into the decision to stop recording this podcast and why that happened and the lessons and the blessings in that in this episode. So I feel like you're really going to love this episode, but it's emotional, to be honest with you. I think I really blocked out of my head how much I love doing this. I really just filed it at the back of my head and tried not to think about it as I focused fully on writing my book over the last year, and to be able just to pick up the microphone and know that you are here and you're still around and you're listening to me, that just means so much to me. So firstly, I want to say thank you so much for being a listener of the Mindspo podcast. Thank you so much for being part of this community. It really does mean the world to me that we are able to grow and cultivate such a beautiful collective of people that are on just such a similar wavelength, that are all interested in learning and growing and evolving and becoming. And just being in this energy at this time on this earth, we're all alive at the same time. Like I don't know. I don't take that for granted for a moment. And the more I think about life and I think about timelines and I think about just the future and the past, the more grateful I am to be here on earth at this time. Because we are alive at a really exciting time on the planet, at a really pivotal time in history. I truly believe we're all here for a divine reason. And we're all here together to teach, to learn, to grow, to reflect off one another. And it's a cool thing being alive, isn't it? It really is when you think about it. I could go on so many tangents. I have so much to say. I've picked up the microphone and my brain has just gone, whoa, I know you're meant to be talking about this, but you could talk about this. And how about talking about this? So I think I'm going to be spending this whole entire weekend just allowing my voice to crack open again and speak to you. It feels like a floodgate has just opened inside my body. I'm like all hot and chilly and excited. Anyway, so I was planning out my podcast a little bit. And when I say planning out, I literally just mean going on my notes on my phone and writing 1 or 2 sentences about the ideas that were coming up and through me. And something I just really wanted to dive into on today's episode is the art of becoming and just the process of becoming and my journey with becoming rather than just doing. I've been on this really interesting trajectory over the last year. And I really want to talk about around the time that this podcast stopped and finished, there was something that happened that I didn't share on social media that really changed a lot of things in my timeline, in the way that I thought everything was unfolding. And what that was is a deadline was changed that I had no control over. So I'm going to go into a little bit of a story time with this now and share with you this process of becoming and how you can really move from just doing things and being in the doing, being in the grind, being in that kind of monotonous hamster wheel that so many of us can feel like we're on, where we're trying to just do all the things and hold all the things and trying to do it all at once. And instead, maybe how you could start to explore this energy of just becoming, being in the unfolding, being in the presence of whatever it is coming through, because that feels like what I've been on for the last 11 months or whatever it is since I stopped recording the podcast. So let's dive in. Are you ready to unlock the secret to manifesting? Introducing Magnetic, my debut book that reveals the hidden keys to attracting health, wealth, love, and limitless abundance into your life. Now look, as a Mindspo listener, you already know the power of conscious creation. And now with this book, it is time to take your manifestation powers to the next level by unlocking the secrets of your subconscious mind. Now, for a limited time only, when you pre-order Magnetic, you'll also receive exclusive access to the Magnetic Portal, a sacred space where manifestation meets community. Inside the portal, you'll also discover my secret magnetic podcast series featuring deep dive teachings I have never shared before, revolutionary EFT ceremonies designed to reprogram your subconscious for abundance, guided meditations to amplify your manifestation powers, and exclusive bonuses only available to those who pre-order to accelerate your spiritual journey. These bonuses are only available for a limited time, so click the link below to pre-order Magnetic and unlock instant access to the Magnetic Portal and join my growing community of conscious creators just like you, already creating their dream lives. So in around January 2024, I was sitting in Queen's Park, which is a beautiful little suburb right near Bondi, and I was staying in a house that I had got on a short-term rental to just stay and write my book in. And my plan was to stay in Sydney for 6 months, write my book, and then go to the UK in around July 2024, which was when my book, Magnetic, was meant to be coming out to the world. That was the deadline that Penguin, my publishers, had given me, and that was like the plan, the trajectory. And in the lead up to getting this deadline and knowing this book was coming out and really working on this project that had so many timelines to it, it really forced me to change so many things in my business. So one of the big things I did was I outsourced my retreats. If you didn't know, we have a retreats company under Mindspo called Mindspo Retreats, and I've created this program called the Self-Love Program in Bali. And I've run, I think, over 27 of those retreats myself. But knowing that I was writing a book and had all these other things coming out, I had decided to step back from running that program, and I hired the most incredible facilitators to come on and take that program away from me and into their hands, and in doing so, in my opinion, actually make the program even better than it ever was before, because it was all of my ideas and my journeys and all of the things that I wanted to create, but then with someone else bringing them to life with all of their own magic. So everyone that comes on that retreat now, I feel like they get all of my essence and all of my teachings and all of my structure and my vision. And the retreat is exactly the same, but it's so different because you've got these incredible new facilitators that have all of their own magic and all of their own wisdom that they infuse into the program as well. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I knew that was going to happen. But I had outsourced that, and I had outsourced things on my app and things in my business. And I had just decided that I was going to be in this, if I'm honest with you, hustle grind of writing a book for a few months, getting the book out, and then boom, at the end of it, becoming an author. And it was so exciting to me, this idea that in July 2024, I was going to be a published author. And I was really caught up with this concept of being an author and having the book out. So then this email came through, and this email was from Carolina, who was my editor at Penguin. And it was this very big email explaining that they had decided that my book was no longer going to come out in July 2024. It was now going to come out in January 2025. And they listed all of these reasons, which made a lot of sense, and all of these kind of strategic business reasons that were their choice as the publishers who were in control of the launch and the distribution and everything. But I remember reading this email And rather than looking at it and being like, oh, this is amazing, I'm going to have more time to write the book, because the deadline that I was on before to write the book and have the book come out this year, it would have come out a few months ago, was insane for a first-time author. I'm sure it's a doable deadline, but it was, for me, I didn't start writing till a little bit later once I got my book contract. And I was quite slow at the process when I first started. It was taking me a while to get into it and to find my groove with it and to really conceptualize everything and to bring it all together. So realistically, I should have been over the moon that this deadline was pushed. But instead, I was so angry. I was furious. I remember being so pissed off and annoyed and frustrated and in my ego and in my story. And look, there were some reasons to be frustrated. We had to push a lot of things this year because my book deadline changed. We had retreats planned and courses planned, and I had travel plans organized, and all of those got pushed 6 months in advance. And some of them got canceled because rather than having a book coming out in summer in Europe, it was coming out in the dead of winter in January. So there were things that were changed that I then couldn't control. But the overarching thing that was happening that was so beneficial for the actual book was, as an author, I was given more time to write and more time to create and ensure that this project could be all that it could be. But this is where the piece around doing versus becoming comes in, because I was so focused on just getting the thing done back then in January. I was so focused on doing the book, getting the book done, getting the book out there, getting to the end, doing all the work so I could just be that person who had that book and kind of feel like I ticked it off my list, that the idea of waiting 6 months to be able to get it all done, to me just felt like something was being taken away from me. It really ate away at my ego, and I got into this like frustration because I was in this rushed energy where I just wanted it to just happen there and then. And I had completely disconnected myself from why I actually wanted to write a book in the first place. I had completely disconnected myself from the process of becoming, from the magic of becoming, from the journey of becoming an author. And my question to you right now is, where in your life are you just trying to get it done? Where are you trying to just tick all the things off the to-do list? Where are you forgetting to be in the unfolding, to be embodied in the process of becoming the version of you that has it? Where in your life are you just trying to get to the end? Where are you trying to bypass the actual journey to get there? Because that's what I was doing. Before I had this deadline switched, I was so focused on doing, getting it all done, doing all the things, doing the podcast, doing all the things in the business, doing the book. And I wasn't actually in the archetype of being an author. All of these years, I have wanted to write a book. All of these years, this has been like such not something that I've just wanted to tick off a list. It has been something that I've wanted to be in. I've wanted to experience what it feels like to be an author, to be a deep thinker, to be someone that is really a master of their craft, and to really be the embodiment of the teachings. Like that for me has been such a drive for me, like becoming somewhat of a master of something and a full embodiment of a certain topic. That really is a turn on for me. Like I'm all about that. And it's something that I deeply wanted in my life. And before this deadline got changed, which I hated at first, but was the biggest blessing in disguise, I didn't realize that I potentially, if the deadline hadn't been changed, I would have actually brought out a book, but I never would have actually become an author. I never would have actually embodied that author archetype. I would have never gone on the journey that I've been on while this podcast has been gone. And also while I have been not posting on social media that much. And I've been so really disconnected from so many different mediums and so many different things that I used to do. I used to be running the retreats all the time and putting out vlogs all the time and putting out short form content all the time and posting on stories all the time. Like even right now, today, as I record this, I don't think I've posted on my Instagram stories for 4.5 months. I have been so off all kind of forms of connection and just so in my own energy and in my own artistry and in my own mastery, because since this deadline got changed and all of this stuff happened, I just went into this process of becoming. I stopped doing and I started becoming. And that is when the best words, the best work, the best ideas came to me in this project that is now magnetic, this book that is now coming out on January 16th. And it's been such a big lesson for me because I really realize in life so often we say we want something, and I think a lot of the time people want the end result, but maybe they're trying to bypass the experience or the journey that they need to go on to actually get to that end result. And I think a lot of people do bypass the experience. They bypass the embodiment, they rush through it and they get to the end. And I've, seen in my own life and other people's lives as well that I know that when we do that, quite often we get to the end and we go, is this it? Is this why I work so hard? Is this what it feels like for this thing to be here and to be out and to be done, or for this wedding to have happened, or this baby to be born, or this business to reach this goal? Oh, it's it. And you realize that when it gets to the end, it's just another day. It's still the present moment. You're still here. And unless you've gone on this journey of becoming and stepping into that person that is able to hold that thing that isn't the full expression of whatever it is that you are creating, it can feel really empty. It can feel really numb. It can feel really disconnecting. And when all of this happened for me in January, at the same time, the 7 days after my deadline got pushed, I also found out that the house that we were meant to be staying in for 6 months, they were going to sell the house, so we had to move out. And I don't know if you know anything about short-term rental market in Sydney, but it's a little wild. And we were only going to be in Sydney for another 8 weeks. And I was so stressed. I remember it was just such a stressful time when all of this happened. And I didn't have any of this awareness that I'm sharing with you now when all of this was happening. I was so in my victim story of like, everything is changing and I feel so out of control and we've lost the house that I thought we manifested, the perfect house, and now I'm not going to be an author until 2025. Woe is me. Oh my God, such first world problems. But I was so in my own shit, as you can be. And I remember when all of that happened, I thought it was all like so shit, but really it ended up being the best thing ever. We ended up getting this beautiful, for our last little bit in Sydney, I call it my magnetic riding cabin. It was in Seaforth and it was this little cabin overlooking the water. And I just sat at this little riding cabin. You can find out my Instagram stories if you go through the highlight called Magnetic. I had the most beautiful days there writing the book. I was full in the embodiment of being this archetype of the author in a little riding cabin, hidden away from the world, just completely focused on the book. I'd stop the podcast and I just pull back from everything. And one thing I've learned in this process is I don't actually want to do it all. This year, I really enjoyed not doing it all. Although I have missed this podcast and I love showing up on here and talking to you, I've really enjoyed being completely disconnected really from so much of social media and so much of the online world, and hiding myself away and keeping my voice to myself and minimizing all of my responsibilities and just focusing on one thing. For the last 11 months, really, it's just been the book. That's all I've really done. I've been in book world. Anyone that knows me comes up to me, they're like, how is the book? Because we know you're not thinking about anything else. And it's allowed me to be completely in this archetype. And sometimes I feel like in my life in the past, I've made the mistake of trying to do it all. And then in the process of doing it all, not really being in any of it. Yeah, I'm getting it all done and it's all happening and there's all these things unfolding. But am I really being in all of it? Am I really present for all of it? Because I don't know about you, but one thing I've learned with my own mind is the more things that I do, the more things that I stack onto my plate, the more responsibilities I get, the more my team grows, the more things that are directly connected to my energy, the less present I find I'm able to be. And that's something I've really had to train myself with. And I've loved not doing it all this year. I have loved it. I have loved simplifying everything. I've loved just being. And that doesn't mean that I won't do it all again. Here I am with the podcast and I'm planning to start so many things at the moment. And I'm in this chapter where I'm so ready for that because I have pulled myself back so much, but it's allowed me just to really enjoy my life and to fully embody this archetype that I've wanted to be for so long. And I want to challenge you to ask yourself, what archetype or what chapter do you really want to be present for in your life? What is it that you're wanting to create and become? Is it that you want to be a career girl and you really want that 6 or 7 or even 8-figure business, and that's your goal and that's like what you're wanting to express and feel into? Or maybe you want to be a mother and you just really want to be in that archetype of being a mother, being present for motherhood and all of the challenges, lessons, and blessings and love that comes with that. Or is it that maybe you really want to go on your healing girl era? You want to go to somewhere like Bali, where I've been for so many years, and you want to go for 3, 6, 7 months, maybe even a year, and just really work on yourself and be free and work online and be free from commitments? Is it that you really want to enjoy being single or being in a relationship, or maybe just soak up being engaged before all of the responsibilities that come with marriage and kids? What is it that you want to be present for in your life? What is it that you really want to savor? Not just achieve or do or be in, but like I'm talking about fucking savor. What do you want to sit with and just be in the presence of eating and enjoying that thing? You know, when you got a really fucking juicy orange and you cut it open and you're sitting there and you're like, sucking the juice out of the orange and it's just like dripping down your like chest and your chin and you're just savoring the sweetness and it's just the best orange you've ever had and you wish like that orange would just like never end. What chapter in your life do you want that experience with? There is just so much wisdom in every single one of these chapters for us. So that's my story time. I hope it explains to you as well a little bit why this podcast went quiet, why I disconnected from so much of the world, and why you probably haven't seen me on social media. Not that you probably care, but it's been a process of just doing things for myself. If I'm really honest, I've been very selfish this year, and it's been so good to be selfish. I've been online serving for so many years, and I really wanted to serve. It's funny. It's selfish, but it's not selfish, because actually I think that the things that I needed to do in order to create the best book and just to become like the next version of myself so that I can serve in the way that like I really want to serve, it required me becoming a different person. And it required me becoming a different person without sharing the process so much. Shared bits of it here and there, but I felt I've kept so much to myself. I've been doing so many trainings and learning so many things and creating so many things that are coming out soon, and just being in this author archetype, hiding away, not showing my face to the world. So all in all, I hope today's podcast inspires you to step into your being era, whatever that is for you, and to really ask yourself, where are you just doing it all when you don't want to do it all? Or where are you rushing through it when really the enjoyment of getting it done will come from slowing down, from savoring it, to just allowing it to unfold and surrendering to the process and knowing that, like, it's corny, but my friend, the journey is the destination. You can get to the end of so many things, and so often you won't feel any difference. There won't be, any change or shift. But if you enjoy the process and you trust the unfolding and you really show up for all of the experiences, both the good and the bad, and you realize that it's just all of the universe, it's all God, it's all the divine just there teaching, unfolding, taking you on this wild ride of life, I think that's when you'll really sink into loving the process of manifestation. And from that love and that enjoyment, so much more will come. Anyway, that is it from me today. I am sending you so much love, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. And just remember, you create your own reality. So go and make some magic.
Thank you for joining me for this episode. You can discover more from Mindspo on Instagram and TikTok by following @Mindspo and myself @Rochelle_Fox. If this episode inspired you, then please pass it on and share the love. And if you're new to our world and you want to elevate your mind and step into your best self, then be sure to download our app, Manifesty, from the App Store and take advantage of the free trial. With Manifesty, you can create your own vision board movies, practice powerful meditations, and set affirmation reminders so your phone supports your journey towards that abundant vision of your future. And lastly, always remember, you create your own reality. So go and make some magic.